warm in here. Our next item is the update on counsel at first appearance. And if we can have everybody from Travis County Public Defender's Office, Capital Area Private Defender Service, Equity Action, and their guests, if they can all come on up. There are free seats. I encourage everybody to come on around. We have a chair there. We have some chairs here. Feel free to sit there. Okay. All right. Thank you, Chief Henderson. And I think, so this has been on our agenda for a really long time. We've been waiting for us to have an update to give. I think I'll start with the Travis County Public Defender's Office to just give us an update on what's going on and where we are with things. Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. There we go. Try it again. Good afternoon, everyone. Adia Logan-Kade, Chief Public Defender, Travis County Public Defender's Office, here on behalf of that office, along with other colleagues from Travis County who make up the sort of, defense bar and providing the direct representation to the community members who come through our criminal legal system and need representation and are now provided representation. I was here back 2022 timing when the commission was interested in this item, and Travis County and the city began in earnest trying to bring counseled first appearances to this community. And so I'm really delighted to be here now, this many years later, to say we have a successful program, and others will speak to sort of like the larger overview, but I'll talk to sort of like the Public Defender's Office's participation in, reviving counseled first appearances here in the county. It's something near and dear to my heart because that was a system that I practiced in for decades before, moving on and becoming the Chief Public Defender here in Austin, Travis County. And so seeing this come to fruition, knowing what it means to the people's lives who are touched by the criminal legal system, and having early effective representation just means a great deal for what happens as their cases move on and as their lives move on. And so the Public Defender's Office currently staffs 1/4 of the counseled first appearance shifts. Counsel at first appearance is happening every day of the week from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. And so as a defense provider, the Public Defender's Office is in there 1/4 of the time, staffing with our attorneys, our social service team members, which include social workers and caseworkers. We have on call our Padilla lawyers who help ensure that our non-U.S. citizen clients and community members are identified and on a path to ensuring they are advised and counseled on what contact with the criminal legal system means for their lives, particularly in this timing where we have more of those community members who may previously have had protections that have now been removed. I think that is a critical component of our representation that the Public Defender's Office brings. We've represented since counsel at first appearance reanimated in April of 2024. We've represented over 5,000 unique individuals coming through our criminal legal system. And, in doing that, we are providing representation across all levels of offenses from, the most serious homicides down to, criminal trespasses. Those who are charged with Class C misdemeanors alone are not at this time provided counsel first appearances. I'd love a discussion, someday in the future about what that means for folks who have, the same vulnerabilities, even though it's a Class C misdemeanor, and what it would mean to see them provided with counsel at their first appearances as well. And so the Public Defender's Office is just glad, to be here and to be presenting again after, so many years, and to see our program in Austin, Travis County, alive and viable at this time. Thank you.
Great. You guys want to go ahead?
Hey, good evening, Commissioners. My name is Jeff Burkhart. I am the County Executive for Community Legal Services here in Travis County. I'm one of 7 different county executives that helps oversee the day-to-day operations for the county. Our department, basically, and if you find yourself in Travis County and you can't afford an attorney or other legal services, that's where we step in. It could be the criminal side, it could be the civil side. Total, we have 7 different entities that are connected to us in one way or another, including 3 different entities that are represented here today. Of course, the Public Defender Office. We have Capital Area Private Defender Service represented by Katie Jo Muncie and Ryan Chrysler. And we have our new Office of First Defense that's handling about 50% of all representation for counsel at first appearance. I just want to echo what Adiola said. I mean, this and also give her some praise here because she was one of the main drivers, along with Bob Batlin and several others, to create counsel at first appearance in Travis County. Where many of us came from, we practiced in other states. It was the norm in much of America that you have counsel the first time you appear in court. That is not the norm in Texas. We are one of only 7 counties in Texas that provides counsel at first appearance. We do that through a combination of 3 different organizations. The new Office of First Defense, as I mentioned, represents roughly 50% of people going through magistration. And then the Capital Area Private Defender Service and Public Defender Office each represent about 25% roughly of the other people going through magistration. On any given day, we have somewhere in the ballpark of 80 to 100 persons who are arrested and magistrated in Travis County. That's the result of policing by about 30 different policing organizations. APD represents about 60% of that, the sheriff's, followed by the sheriff's office, followed then by DPS, and then you can imagine all the constables and municipalities and everything involved after that. So about 30 entities total, producing about 80 to 100 people who are going through magistration on any given day. As Adiola mentioned too, our magistration, right now I think we're 4 or 5 months into full representation, I believe, roughly? Since July. Whatever the math is on that, so a little bit more than that. And as Adiola mentioned, we are representing people starting at about 6 a.m., going till about 10 or 11 o'clock at night. One last thing I want to mention before I hand it off to some colleagues. The phrase counsel at first appearance, CAFA, literally means you get an attorney by your side. What Travis County has done is quite a bit more than that. Yes, we've provided attorneys by people's side, which is great, but we've done it in a way, number one, that provides quality representation. Attorneys have low staffing rates, so you don't have a ton of clients. You have a reasonable number of clients. We've also provided caseworkers, social services to people going through magistration. We've also moved it from a room in the basement of of central booking to an actual courtroom. So in addition to that, it opened it up to the public. Between 6 a.m. and 11 p.m., anybody here, anybody in the public can go in and watch magistration, see what's happening. We've provided in-person interpretation services for Spanish speakers. Spanish speakers represent somewhere in the ballpark of 14 to 17% of people being arrested. In addition to that, Travis County has hired several judges for those services, and the list goes on from there. So it really has been not just providing counsel at first appearance, but really a magistration overhaul for Travis County. And it's been a roughly $15 million investment for the county annually to create all that. So very proud of what we're doing in providing counsel, providing interpreters, social services, and proud of my colleagues and all the work they're doing. So with that, I'll hand it over to Kristen.
Hi, Commissioners. My name is Kristen Jernigan. I'm the Chief Counsel for the new Office of First Defense. Our office is about a year old now. Our office was created, it was actually Jeff's idea, but created to fill the space where you need a large amount of clients seen with not enough lawyers in the county. So we're staffed with myself and 12 lawyers. We have 5 support staff. We do 2 shifts a day. A shift is from about 6 to 2-ish, and then B shift from 2 to 11. I have 4 supervising attorneys, all of who speak Spanish. Over half of my staff speaks Spanish. So we're able to, communicate in a way that's meaningful with our Spanish-speaking clients. We have a training program that we developed for this specific area of representation. We are limited scope. We only represent at the bail hearings these clients. However, as Katie Jo will explain in a moment, we do coordinate with the Capital Area Private Defender Service for a continuum of care for clients that need services. This program was actually very near and dear to my heart. My colleagues know this information, and I don't say it to toot my own horn or anything, but I was a magistrate judge in another county, and I tried very hard to get counsel at first appearance there and couldn't move the needle. So when this program opened up and the opportunity to do this kind of work, I jumped at it because as a magistrate, I would read somebody their rights and tell them they could remain silent, and then I'd want to ask them a ton of questions on how I could help them. So I'm very, very proud of the collegiality and the team spirit that we've all come together to prioritize this kind of work. It works on every shift. I was very happy my first night that I did a shift to know that since I just kind of jumped off a bridge. But it does. It works at every shift. We're able to help people. And we don't just represent them at the hearing. As Katie Jo explained, we do try to provide them with services. We contact family members on their behalf to make sure that they know where their loved one is and to explain the bail process or when to expect they're going to get out or just the things that you would want to know when your loved one is arrested. And in fact, Jeff and Bradley Hargis, who's the director of the Capital Area Private Defender Service, has come up with a how-to on what happens at magistration for the public to be able to go on our website and figure out what to do if a family member or loved one is arrested. So all in all, it's much more than just representing at the bail hearing, which we do and do very, very effectively. But it's a holistic approach to people that are probably having one of the worst days of their life and are very confused about what's happening. So I'll pass it over to Katie Jo.
Hi, thanks for having us. So Bradley Hargis is our executive director for the Capital Area Private Defender Service. You're probably used to hearing from him, but he's sick, so you get to hear from me and from Ryan Chrysler. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the case management support that CAPS has been providing, and Ryan's going to talk a little bit more kind of about the operation aspect of magistration with CAPS. So just a little bit of context, CAPS is the Managed Assigned Counsel program in Travis County. So we handle the majority of indigent defense representation once a client is arrested and they get assigned an attorney. So we're handling 25% of the shifts directly at the CAFA shifts by our CAPS attorneys, but we have rolled out case management services to every shift, starting January 1st, every shift has case management services. So from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m., we have a CAPS case manager on site there to support the clients, there to support the attorneys. So we kind of started piloting this probably in the summer, right? Like we slowly started rolling this out, bringing people on board, piloting this in the summer. We handled, our biggest month so far was we handled 20 shifts in the month of December. During that time, we had interaction with over 161 clients. So averaging about, anywhere between 6 to 10 clients a shift. So roughly a third of the clients are getting some interaction with case management. Now from there, some of those clients are getting directly connected to services. Some of those clients are being provided resource information. And then some of those clients will stay long-term with CAPS case management services. So that's one thing that's worked out really great between OFD and CAPS is that having that continued representation and that continuity of care. So the clients are being represented by an OFD attorney at magistration, but they have a CAPS case manager, and then that case is going to go to a CAPS attorney, if that makes sense. So that's been really helpful just in the continuity and relationship building with the client and being able to build that rapport and not having to get bounced around between different agencies. So I have some data I'd like to share, just kind of roughly some information and numbers that we've been keeping. keeping. So roughly 60% of the clients that our case management team met with during the month of December were unhoused. And I think that that's probably the number's higher if you look at the total population for in the Travis County Jail. 43 of those clients were provided treatment resources, 33 were provided shelter options, 20 were provided direct transportation, whether that was through bus passes or coordinated releases through our case managers picking the client up from custody and transporting them somewhere, and then employment support as well. Beyond just the direct service and providing service referrals, our team is also there for crisis and de-escalation. So when a client is coming in, they're possibly in crisis, they might be detoxing, our team is there to help support the attorney and the client in working through what they need to get done to be able to make it through magistration, and then what are the next steps as the client stays in custody if they're not released from custody. So, the program, I have to say, we're really, it's really been successful. Really quickly, it's had an impact. I think probably faster than maybe we expected. The attorneys to OFD has been great to work with. Their attorneys have been super involved and engaged, wanting to learn, to identify clients and what are the best type of clients that we could submit for referrals, and helping advocate, allowing the case managers to advocate with the judge for personal release. We have success stories for clients who were able to access the homeless management information system, and so I think it's called something else now. So I apologize if I'm not using the right term. Clarity. So we're able to access that, and we've identified multiple times where clients, after reviewing the docket, we were able to see that clients were eligible for housing, had either a voucher or were selected for a shelter bed, but nobody could find the client. But because we were able to access that information, we were able to connect them with the appropriate agency, get the client out of custody because it gave the judge confidence the client was going to get support that they needed. And so those are just some, big examples, but it's happened multiple times where we've had that type of success. So the attorneys have been great to work with. Our case managers are really excited about it. We're happy to go full time. This was the first, we're 4 days in, 5 days in. So we're excited to see how it goes.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ryan Chrysler. I'm the Director of Magistration Services for the Capital Area Private Defender Service. To bolster what Mr. Burkhart said a few minutes ago about the things we're doing here compared to other counties, I was around for 2 of those other 7 counties' offices being created, or programs being created, one of which I set up myself in Fort Bend County. And from my understanding of the other counties, we are providing services that the other counties are not. Certainly in the counties that I worked in, we're providing services that were not provided there. We offer case management support, as Ms. Muncy just told you. We also do everything in person. There's no virtual aspect to what we're doing here. And that's actually very important because you can form a connection with that person and get more honest responses and help them in a more meaningful way whenever you're doing it in person versus virtually. For our office, I manage the attorneys that work the CAFA shifts for the Capital Area Private Defender Services, and our attorneys are a little different than the other attorneys. Our attorneys are people who are on the court-appointed panels, and they do not work directly for us. People sign up for these shifts. I mean, they are compensated, but they sign up on their own and their own initiative to work these shifts. And we have a 3-pronged approach, and we all have a unified but slightly different approach to these things. And I think that's a very important aspect because we bring all our own different perspectives to how this program works. And people say that the 3 defense agency approach is a little unusual. It is, but the way we've done it means that we have more heads deciding problems than would exist in other counties. The majority of our attorneys that have worked CAFA have really enjoyed doing it. They find it an experience that betters their perception on the system, even though they're used to the system, but they like seeing this part of the process. Because until CAFA, most attorneys had really not seen magistration. It's not a process that we see frequently as court-appointed attorneys. So as we've gotten more and more engagement with the attorneys from our panel, that's increased a larger interest in what happens at magistration, and thus an overall better representation from all the attorneys that are on the court-appointed panels. Like I said, I think our 3-pronged approach is definitely the best way for us here in Travis County. And that's what we do at the CAPS. So,
And I think if we can have you guys introduce yourself and just speak to us a bit as well.
I'm Bob Batlin. I am a part of Advocates for Social Justice Reform. We were looking it up today. I think we started in 2019. And the reason we started is we saw what happened at magistration at that time in Harris County. And what we saw were people being brought in front of a judge scared to death. And I think Kristen kind of mentioned the worst day of their life, but scared to death and not understanding at all what was going on. They were read their rights and then they talked. It was clear that it wasn't something working. And at that time, Harris County had incredibly large bail amounts. So they had, for a theft of $20, they would have a bail amount of $5,000. And obviously the person couldn't afford that. So anyway, it kind of irritated a group of us, and we started working to try and figure out what we could do about it. And we found out that before they would work on that, they wanted to create this public defender's office. And we worked on doing that and helped the county select Adiola, which was one of our highlights of everything we did. And I think you need to understand when they're talking about the 2 shifts, they're covering, theoretically, I hope they're covering everybody that gets arrested in that day during those 2 shifts. So we'd kind of like it if it was 3 shifts, but we understand that that might be a bridge too far. We need lawyers. I think that is the biggest thing that is needed. There are not enough lawyers working for either the Public Defender's Office or the Capital Area Private Defender's Office. I don't know how you're doing, but my expectation is that we need a whole bunch more lawyers. There was some comment that the workload is being managed. Well, it is being managed, but if somebody gets arrested, they get a lawyer. And there's a lot of people that get arrested. And there are some lawyers that are handling as many as 600 cases a year. And that doesn't work. But the alternatives might be that they don't get the lawyer. The other instance is, what is the quality? We just had a really good study that said that, in my reading of it, that the Public Defender's Office, people were generally very satisfied with their lawyers. And with CAPS DS, there's this 2-modal thing where some of them are really excited about their lawyers and some of them aren't. And the issue of not having enough lawyers is we have to accept the fact that some of them aren't the best. So what you could do to help us is figure out a way to get us more lawyers. And, it is voluntary to sign up for CAPS DS, and we need more to sign up.
Yeah, hey y'all. My name is Savannah Lee. I'm the Director of Policy and Operations at Equity Action. Thank you, Bob. Equity's mission is to reimagine public safety here in Austin, and we see CAFA as a vital part of that. So I just want to talk about a little bit how the system as a whole needs a program like this. Public safety has to be seen as a system that protects the rights, stability, and dignity of working people and their families. One of the most fundamental of those rights is the right to an attorney, and that begins at the very first encounter with a judge. First appearances aren't just procedural formalities. They are among the most consequential moments in a person's interaction with the justice system. It's at this stage that decisions are made about pretrial liberty, bail conditions, and whether someone accused but not convicted of a crime can return home or must remain incarcerated. These decisions have immediate and lasting impacts on employment, family stability, housing security, and long-term involvement with the justice system. Allowing Austinites to navigate these critical hearings without legal counsel undermines both fairness and public safety, and the data consistently supports this. A study conducted by Texas A&M's Public Policy Research Institute examined the effects of providing counsel at first appearance in multiple counties. In Potter County, access to counsel increased the likelihood of receiving a PR bond by 27%. In Hayes County, the increase was 19%. These represent hundreds of individuals who were able to return to their jobs, their children, and their communities rather than being unnecessarily detained simply because they lacked representation at the earliest stage of the process. While Travis County judges had a record of PR bonds generally higher than both of these counties before CAFA even began, the benefit of counsel is made clear in the data. Providing counsel at first appearance also meaningfully reduces time spent in jail. Even short periods of pre-trial detention have been shown to cause significant harm. Extensive research demonstrates that spending just 1 day in jail increases the likelihood of rearrest by approximately 24%. For individuals detained 5 days or more, that risk increases by 56%. These findings directly challenge the notion that pretrial detention enhances public safety. In reality, unnecessary detention destabilizes people's lives in ways that increases the likelihood of future system involvement. The economic and social consequences of pretrial detention are equally well documented. A study of pretrial detention found that nearly half of detained individuals experienced a material loss as a result of being held. About 40% missed work, 18% lost their jobs entirely. Additional national research has shown that people who experience pretrial detention are about 30% more likely to lose access to public benefits such as housing assistance and food support. These losses ripple outward, affecting children and extended families and entire communities, and they place additional strain on public systems that must respond to the fallout. CAFA directly addresses these inequities while advancing the goals of public safety. By ensuring that individuals have legal representation at their first appearance, we improve judicial decision-making, increase the use of the appropriate release conditions, and reduce unnecessary incarceration. The result is fewer people cycling through jail, more people maintaining employment and family connections, and ultimately safer and more stable communities.
I'd like to add one more point since we have APD here. One of the things that we learned right from the start is roughly 40% of the people that find themselves at Travis County jails have a mental health designation. It seems like that is a fairly constant number, I guess. But 40% of them have that designation. It brings up the point that if we had a way to give our public safety officers better tools, because right now they have two tools. If they coming on to somebody that's doing something wrong and having an obvious mental health issue, they have fundamentally two choices. They can take them to an ER or they can take them to jail. If they take them to the ER will handle something quickly and let them back out. So that's probably not, I'm not the expert, but I'm probably not the way that most public safety officers would want to deal with that. So their only remaining option is to take them to jail, whether or not that's the right thing. And the Travis County Jail is the largest provider of mental health services in Travis County, and that's fundamentally wrong. So we need to have additional tools. The county is working on something called a diversion center, and we learned the term deflection. We're really interested in working with APD and the other public safety officers to figure out how to do deflection, how to get them to services rather than jail when appropriate.
Thank you for that
Thank you for that. I'm going to bring us back to council at first appearance before we open up the whole world to a bigger discussion. I'm just going to turn to commissioners for a second to see if we have any questions. Commissioner Smith.
Hey, team. Okay, so first of all, I want to say just how proud I am of this manifestation as someone who, in a separate hat, was on the ground floor of the latest iteration of getting this off the ground, the iteration that got it across the finish line. I have just been really inspired. And I want to say this in this hat specifically. I have been really inspired by the county's leaning in when it comes to collaboration, when it comes to flexibility, when it comes to listening, not in a vortex, but actually to respond and co-collaborate in ensuring people's lives are better. I've been really inspired by that. And I want to appreciate you all for that leaning in. And I want to appreciate all of the different ingredients that make up our gumbo for justice, because it really was this private public partnership with so many elements that brought this to effectuation. So I just want to say yes and keep going. And I'm really excited to have you all back with some more long-term data. I know I'm saying the same thing, but we're in this space now, so I want to make sure I say it in this space. Some long-term data on the outcome differentials based upon, right, some more data showing, how many PR bonds. I want our stats to show what are our different outcomes now that this is effectuated. So I would love for us, as in a future agenda item, I don't know how you want to handle that, Chair, but I would love to get, some type of ETA on when we think we would be comfortable with that level of data. And then, a schedule per se of ensuring that we're hearing the most updated data points and how we can be supportive in our role.
Sure, so I can address some of that if it's helpful. The Equity Action mentioned that study of counsel at first appearance conducted by Texas A&M. Previously, I served as director of the Texas Indigent Defense Commission and helped commission that study and help fund that study. The study was also funded in part by Arnold Ventures, the foundation. Those same researchers still have a little bit of that funding left, and we are talking to them very seriously about having them study our operations here in Travis County. So we're already collecting data on this. Part of it, frankly, is a little bit of capacity to be able to analyze that data. But we are talking to researchers about having a little bit more of a thorough study. It would not be a randomized controlled trial. We're too far down the road for that. We don't want to deprive people of counsel just to compare a control and a study group. But we are talking to the same researchers, Dr. George Nafal and others, about the study in Travis County, and we hope to come back with some data for y'all.
And if I could just add one thing about that. Commissioner Smith, I think we've talked about this before, but we are also keeping data. One of the things that I think people don't realize when you have a lawyer present at counsel at first appearance is that we're able to negotiate with the prosecutor in real time. And so we get a large number of cases rejected where those people don't become criminal justice impacted. So that's another data point that we are collecting. So just wanted to throw that out there.
Did we have any? Commissioner Bernhardt.
So first I want to second the general woohoo. I think we're all in general just thrilled that this exists, and also thrilled that there is case management and services being provided, and that the load is being shared, because more people thinking about a problem generally is better. I have heard, and I think I just confirmed it by looking at Travis County's employment applications, like what jobs are open, that the CAFA attorneys make more than the public defenders. Like the range, that it starts in the 70s for a public defender and at 85 for community legal services.
So that may have been true, I think, in the past, but it wasn't that wide of a range. And I think there was some action taken March.
Oh, good.
So March, almost a year ago now, to rectify that for the starting salaries for, the first year's attorneys, those who have the least experience. Right. I think, everybody here would say we need to do a better job collectively with compensation
Right.
for the folks who work in our criminal legal system and in our offices that are providing, round the clock, holiday driven, right? Like our staff worked for the first time Christmas for the Public Defender's Office and Office of First Defense New Year's Day, right? So, right, like there's a world in which like this is transforming a lot of what the expectation was for that type of work, and people's times away from their families so that other people can get to be with their families and things of that nature.
And there's still a parity problem with the district attorney's office. Is that right?
So the salaries that were set, and to be clear, the resetting of the salaries for the first, second, and third year attorneys was reset not just for the Public Defender's Office, but for Office of First Defense. And those salaries were reset to be on par with what the district and county attorney's offices were making for their first, second, and third year attorneys.
Super exciting, and I'm glad to hear that.
And I don't want to gloss, Addie was exactly right. We try to be very intentional about parity within the county. So if you were to start as an attorney within her office or Kristen's office or our child representation office or parental representation office, all of those starting salaries, attorneys 1s, 2s, 3s, all of those are identical at this point. We still do have some gaps within the county. I think about your investigators, for instance, where they're not paid the same as the prosecutors, and we're still working on chipping away at that. But for entities attached to community legal services, largely people are in lockstep at this point.
Thank you.
Well, please. That's another.
Except for the
yeah, right, exactly. So Capillary Private Defender Service, just so if there are people from the public listening to this, they are a nonprofit that's connected to the county. They are not a county entity. And when for instance, the county took action to do an across the board, a cost of living adjustment of 3% back in September, that didn't automatically affect nonprofits. And so we are still playing catch up there as well for staff at
Well,
KPS.
it's a separate, it's the first system, right? Before we had, well, maybe not the wheel, but we just had straight appointments, and then we got this nonprofit, but that always kept those fee-for-service rates in that were real bad.
Yeah, we have an interesting history here where, we keep on building and improving, which is great. We've had our juvenile public defender since, I think, 1971. CapDS came around now 11 years ago, or going on 11 years. Our mental health public defender, I think, started in 2007. Office of First Defense started just last year. So we keep on building and building and building, but we have some work to do yet. But yeah, we've tried to be really intentional about salaries and parity.
I have to just add something here because I never miss an opportunity to talk about budget and salaries. So CAP staff, one of the biggest disparities is within CAP staff, not necessarily attorney fees, which of course, like we're always would love to be able to pay our lawyers more, to Bob's point. But really internally, a major parity issue is internal CAP staff. So the social services support team, social workers, with what the county salaries are for where our teams come in and what their salary, it's a very wide range, a very big gap. And so that's really kind of the area, especially with providing case management services like Adiola mentioned. They're away from their families. They worked holiday, they worked Veterans Day, they worked New Year's Day. They're working holidays now from here on out, being paid at a rate that is not it's not comparable to maybe the rest of the county, and certainly in our mitigation and higher licensed social worker positions.
The only other thing I wanted to add is to the extent that this is maybe a one-step and we could make it to a two-step, the fact that 60% of the folks arraigned in Travis County are unhoused and a huge percentage are mentally ill points to the fact that actually lawyers aren't the solution to like most of these problems, that we're taking all of these social problems and we're driving them through our court system like that makes sense. And it's important to remember that it's insane and that it's really a failure of us to put the money into structures that would make that stop. And so with the police department here and maybe somebody from the cities listening, if we could focus on, most unhoused folks they don't commit violent crimes. They are victims of violent crimes. We can reduce crime if we provide wraparound services and get unhoused folks and mentally ill folks off the street.
And I can talk to, I think there's an issue when all you have is a hammer, right? Everything looks like a nail. And if we start to criminalize, we run into, whether it's homeless issues, substance issues, mental health issues. I think you're exactly right. What the county is doing on that count, and of course our department is limited in what we can do in terms of community legal services, but the county more generally is working toward that mental health diversion center that Bob Batlin talked about. And as Katie Jo was talking about, we don't just have attorneys at first appearance. We have caseworkers now at every single shift. So not social workers, they don't have an MSW, but we do have caseworkers. Well, that's true. For public defender has social workers, but they're not at every shift. So at every shift, at a minimum. No. I'm saying you all aren't at every shift.
Oh, correct.
Yeah. So we don't have an MSW at every single magistration shift. We do at a minimum have a caseworker at every single shift, connecting people to those resources for mental health, housing, substance use, employment, those sorts of things. So, Katie Jo, I don't know if you want to jump in on that.
I do just want to point out the statistic, only because I don't want it to be held against me later. 60% of the clients that our team interacted with in the month of December were unhoused. So I don't want to speak to the county number, but that is pretty on trend for what we see overall with our population dealing with indigent clients. But yeah, the 60% of the 161 clients we interacted with.
Well, thank you, everybody. This is, I am going to take Commissioner Smith's request and figure out how we can get you guys back with data and at what point we can do that, because we definitely want to keep tabs on what's going on. I want to echo the yay. This is exciting. This is something that we backed years ago. So we're excited to see it come together, excited to see more attorneys getting hired. And I will leave it with, when we talk next time, I really want us to be able to talk about sustainability, because you guys are just getting started, and keeping this going, the funding going, the wherewithal, and the staffing going to continue to provide this service, I think is what we should be wrapping our heads around next, is how we keep this going. So thank you, everybody. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.